And if you're new here, like I always say, welcome to the channel. Today is Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great week. In today's video, I want to talk about something pretty cool, and it's that I had my first fully independent travel experience, air travel experience, about a week and a half ago when I went to the Foundation Fighting Blindness Visions Conference at the Coronado Springs Resort in Orlando, Florida at Disney. And I feel like this is a really interesting thing to talk about because I know that there are a lot of people in the blind and low vision community who are wary of traveling independently, that haven't traveled independently. And I think that I'm doing both myself and the community at large a service by talking a little bit in this short, maybe 8, 10, 12-minute video about my experience with that, what I did in this specific trip. And I just think it's cool that it was my first fully independent travel experience. So, when I say it was my first fully independent travel experience, what I mean by that is I've flown 11 times in my adult life, and 9 of those times I have flown by myself. However, what is different about this time, number 11 from 2 weeks ago, is that this is the first time that I've ever flown where I've not been received at the airport by somebody I know and then ultimately taken to my destination, whether it's their house or a hotel or whatever it is. And I'm gonna just talk about the process and what I did to prepare and how I handled it. So I'm gonna go way back to when I booked my flight back in February. So when I booked my flight back in February, every time I fly, what I do through the airline is I request assistance, and you can check a box whether you're deaf or visually impaired or wheelchair bound or whatever, and I have the box checked for visually impaired, and that way what the airline will do is they will have someone assist me through security as well as onto the airplane, off the airplane. Like, someone else, once I get to the destination, will assist me off the airplane and then to the like through the airport to find whoever I'm finding. So I put in for that assistance like I always do. So that was really important in the preparation. And then fast forward to about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, several days before my trip, I booked a shuttle through Mears Connect. Now, Mears Connect is specific to the Orlando airport. It is basically the service that a shuttle service is this huge Greyhound bus that takes you from the Orlando airport to whichever resort you're staying at on the Disney campus or wherever, the surrounding area. And I booked that, and I'm going to talk about the pricing of that here a little bit later and why it was so significant that I did that instead of relying on an Uber or a Lyft or things like that. So I booked that in advance, and I'll just say now it was $32 for both ways. So it was $16 to get to the Coronado from the airport, and it was $16 to get from the Coronado back to the airport 3 days later. And it was a phenomenal deal. And again, I'll tell you why here later in the video once I got talking to other people about it. So the day came for the flight on the 16th of June this of 2022 to go to the conference, and my mom took me to the airport. I flew out of Arnold Palmer International Airport in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. It's a really small airport. It takes so little time to get through that airport. It's so conducive and friendly to people with visual impairments and really any sort of physical limitation, because it is so small and the staff is so friendly, and it's a lot slower paced than like going through a big airport like Pittsburgh or Atlanta or some a bigger airport like that. So it was really cool that way, and I always fly out of Latrobe whenever I can instead of Pittsburgh, unless of course I have to go through Pittsburgh because Latrobe only flies to certain destinations. They use Spirit Airlines. Spirit is not as big of an airline as Southwest or Delta, and they just don't fly to as many places. But anyway, I got to the airport, got through security, went down to the gate with my mom, and then one of the um, employees of the airline assisted me onto the. I had my cane, by the way, for identification purposes, and they assisted me onto the plane. They actually moved my seat up about 20 rows. I think I was on row 23, and they moved me up to row 3, which was cool. So flight took off, was great. Got there in about 2.5 hours. Flight touched down, and I usually wait until almost everybody's off the plane before I get off so that I can take my time. And I got off. Nobody was there to assist me off the plane, which is fine. And I went through the tunnel, went out into the airport with my cane, and I approached the desk at the gate, and I asked if someone could assist me to the Mears Connect terminal bus stop area. And she said yes. And they sat me down, they put me in this area. And what they do typically is they put me in a wheelchair, which I think is funny because like I have zero mobility issues from like a walking standpoint. I have mobility issues because I can't see very well, but I don't have like I can't not like I can't not walk. That's not the issue. But they figure it's just faster and safer, I guess, to put me in a wheelchair. And they put me in a wheelchair and they took me down to the Mears Connect, which it would have taken me a really, really, really long time to find that on my own. Just visually, there was a lot of the signage wasn't too obvious, and it was a pretty busy airport, and it just was easier to do it with the assistance from the staff and personnel at the airport, and they were very good. And they brought me out to the bus stop. I got on the bus, huge Greyhound bus. It took maybe about 30 or so minutes to get to the Coronado, which is not bad at all. Like I said, it was only $16. Got to the Coronado. Luckily, someone was also going to the conference and getting off at the Coronado with me, and she actually allowed me to hold onto her elbow and guided me into the Coronado Springs Resort. Went in, checked in, had my cane with me. And having the cane is I'm going to do a whole video about the cane. The cane is like, it's so good to use the cane even if you don't actually need it 100% of the time, because you don't have to explain about anything. In my experience, when I've run into situations visually and not had the cane, people look at me a certain type of way and are kind of reluctant to help, and they just aren't really sure how to act. But when one has a white cane, it just makes things easier. It's part of making one of your disadvantages one of your advantages. And I got to the front desk at the Coronado, had my cane. She checked me in, and then she actually offered to take me up to my room, and she did, and she helped me sort of orient myself in the room, showed me where all the lights were, and this is where this is where that is, and it was really, really nice. And that's basically what that process was going. And then coming home 3 days later, what I did was I went to the bus stop at the Coronado, and the bus picked me up. I asked the bus driver, and I had my cane again in hand, and I asked the bus driver if someone was going to be at the airport to assist me through the airport because I'm visually impaired, and he said, I don't know, but I will see when we get there. Luckily, when we got there was actually someone out there doing something else, a staff member, and the bus driver and I flagged them down, and I got assistance through the airport with them, and to the area of the airport where you check in. And then they threw me in another wheelchair, got me through the airport, and they helped me out, through the airport, and it was really nice, and it was very convenient, and I'm very fortunate and lucky that things worked out the way that they did. Got onto the airplane. They assisted me onto the airplane. Got off the airplane on my own, walked through the Arnold Palmer Airport, which is so small. I mean, I don't need any assistance to get through that airport. It's just so little. And my parents were there to receive me, to bring me home, and I came home. So I wasn't really nervous because I knew I was bringing my cane, and I know how to approach people and ask for assistance. It's not difficult, and it's not anything that I'm not used to. I've been asking people for help for almost 25 years. And if you're going to travel yourself, bring your cane if you're visually impaired, if you have one. And like I said, I'm going to dedicate a whole video, maybe even a series of videos, to the white cane. And yeah, it was just a very seamless experience. And asking for assistance when I needed it, having the cane out when I needed it, so I didn't have to explain about anything, make anybody feel uncomfortable, and mainly myself or anybody else. And it was just a very, very cool experience, and it was just so simple. As far as Mears Connect goes, if you're going to Disney and you are considering Ubering to your resort, try not to do that, because I talked to people. Now, this is anecdotal, but like I said, my round trip with Mears Connect was only $32. It was $16 each way. I spoke to people at this conference that paid $100 to Uber from the airport to the Coronado. So, which is just asinine. One way, by the way. I don't know what they spent to go back. So you're talking probably $200 they spent round trip. I spent $32, and it was like clockwork. Um, so that's pretty much thumbnail sketch of what my experience was like traveling completely independently. I feel extremely empowered by doing it. I feel like I can go anywhere in the country on my own independently and get wherever I'm going. If I'm visiting, my aunt and uncle down in Florida, or if I'm visiting someone else in another part of the country, just getting to the air, mom or dad bringing me to the airport, and then me, I even feel like I just call an Uber now and get in the car and have them take me wherever I'm going. It just feels so liberating to have done that myself for the first time, completely myself, and it's just getting me closer and closer to being a relatively fully independent, low vision person in the world. So happy that I did it the way that I did. Grateful to everybody who assisted me through the process and was so accommodating through the process. And I hope you guys derived some sort of value, whether it's motivation or knowledge, information, anything of that, anything like that. I hope you enjoyed this video, got something out of it, got something positive, and thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next video. Love you all, and have a great day.